Hello, and welcome to Inventors Helping Inventors. I'm your host, Alan Beckley, inventor of the Wonder Wallet. If you're an inventor searching for proven ways to make money with your invention, if you dream to see your product selling in stores everywhere, you've come to the right place. There's no better place to get help than from experts, inventors who've already achieved success. Every week, I interview successful inventors, asking them the questions you want to know. Tune in to learn from the experts so you can get your invention out of the tank and into the bank.
I frequently tell people, and the old saying of jack of all trades, master of none. And sometimes I'm jealous of those folks who wanted to be a CPA like right from college because they had this focus. They knew what they wanted to do. They sought it out, they did it, and they do very well with it. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up.
You spent months, maybe years, perfecting your invention. You've probably invested a fair amount of money, too. And now it's ready. You want to license it to a company that can get it into retail stores and pay you royalties on every sale. But here's the problem. How do you find the right company? Not just any company, but one with product lines where your invention is a perfect fit. One that'll really run with it. That research normally takes hours, maybe days. I've got great news. I've built an AI agent specifically for inventors like you. It's called the Invention Prospector. And this AI automation does all that research work for you in 5 minutes. Seriously, 5 minutes. Here's how it works. You fill out a simple form. You give it a brief description of your invention. Nothing proprietary, just the basics. Add your website if you have one. Give it a few search phrases, then hit go. 5 minutes later, you've got a list of at least 20 companies with links to their websites. And it even ranks your top 10 prospects for you. 5 minutes versus 5 hours or 5 days. That's the power of AI automation working for you, not against you. So here's what I'm doing. I'm running a workshop called Tap the Power of AI Agents, and it starts on Monday, December 29th, right after Christmas. In this workshop, I'll show you exactly how this AI automation works behind the scenes. We'll test drive it with real examples from students in the workshop, and you'll leave with your own done-for-you AI agent. This intelligent automation tool that I built that you can use as often as you like for every invention idea you have. Now, enrollment is limited to just 15 students, so if this sounds like something you need, go to www.alanbeckley.com/tapai. That's TAPAI, and register now. Again, that's alanbeckley.com/tapai. I look forward to seeing you Monday, December 29th. Welcome to episode number 572. Today, I interview Matthew Freed. Matthew Freed grew up in Minnesota. He studied business marketing in college. After college, he worked in the entertainment industry, recording music, touring, TV, and film, before becoming an inventor. While working on a TV show in Louisiana, he met his future business partner, Leslie Mashburn, who goes by Elle. Elle loved to engage in bow fishing. One night, while bow fishing, a large fish yanked the bow out of his hands, sending it to the bottom of the swamp, never to be found. Fishing bows can cost up to $2,000. Elle felt that there had to be a better way, a way to float a fishing bow so he'd never lose one at the bottom of a lake again. Elle had created a partially working model of what eventually became the Delta buoy. Over time, Elle began collaborating with Matthew to create a fully functional prototype. Matthew's excited that Elle and he are now ready to debut their new product, the Delta Buoy, in spring of 2026, rolling out first to their website and online retailers, then into stores such as Bass Pro Shops, REI, and others. Matthew is particularly excited because Delta Buoy has broad application, not only to bow fishing, but deep sea fishing, even drones. It can be attached to just about any valuable item you don't want to be lost at the bottom of a lake or the sea. You'll want to listen to this entire interview where Matthew shares how he discovered that combining a lightweight float to an inflatable air bladder could float items weighing up to 20 pounds. Also, Matthew shares the secret to successfully developing a new invention is to solve each problem that comes up, one step at a time, until a finished product emerges. And finally, he describes the benefits of working with a partner to solve vexing product development challenges. One partner will see solutions, the other partner misses, and vice versa. Now, let's get right to our interview with Matthew Freed. Matthew Freed, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast with us today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on.
You bet. Matthew, can you share a bit of your background with our listeners? Where did you grow up and go to school, and what did you do before you became an inventor? Could you share that with us?
Absolutely. So I grew up in Minnesota, up in the cold North Woods, and my background, pretty normal growing up. My father owned a screw machine manufacturing company, so I saw a lot of things being made, and he created a lot of things for the company. He's a big tinkerer as well. And then I studied business marketing in college. Oddly enough, I was actually a very bad student. I did not do very well in college. And then out of school, I got into the entertainment industry, predominantly recording music, playing music, touring, and then transitioned into TV and film work, which I still do a bit of TV and film. But while doing that, I got to see this window into so many different types of companies, things being made, products being created. And you start to see that anything that's out there is sometimes parts. And you figure out the parts and then you got an end product to sell. But I'm always fascinated with the way that things come together. And so that just led me to down my own path of creating products and brands and doing it myself.
Thanks. And that's an interesting story. And it's one that I hear over 500 episodes and talking to lots of inventors. There's a common thread I see over and over again, and that is so far I've yet to ever interview an inventor who said something like, from the time I was a child, I just always wanted to be a CPA. And so I grew up and I became a CPA for 20 years. And one day I came up with an invention. No, it's the opposite. It's usually I did this for a while. I went to school and was involved in business marketing, which gave me a great background. And then I got in recording and music, did a variety of different things. As Steve Jobs says, connect the dots, looking backwards, that ultimately led you to be quite a product developer or creator.
Yeah. And I think that is a very true statement, especially with me. I frequently tell people, and the old saying of jack of all trades, master of none. And sometimes I'm jealous of those folks who wanted to be a CPA like right from college because they had this focus. They knew what they wanted to do. They sought it out. They did it, and they do very well with it. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up.
Can you briefly share with our listeners the aha moment, the event that caused you and your business partner, Leslie Matchburn, to invent your unique fishing bow, the Delta Buoy? Can you share that with us?
Yeah. Leslie, who goes by L, he is an avid bow fisherman. And I met L while working on a TV show in Louisiana. We were knee deep in the swamps a number of years back, and he was talking about this issue that he and other bow fishermen have where the bow is rather expensive, a couple $1,000s, and some point everybody loses one in the water and it sinks to the bottom of the lake, never to be seen from again. And so he initially had that moment of there's got to be something to fix this. And he started tinkering. He started coming up with different ideas, looking at other products out there. And he got the Delta buoy, our flotation device, to a certain point, but couldn't quite get it across the finish line. And when I met him, he was telling me about this, and I was just fascinated by this thing that he was tinkering with. And so together, we've been working on getting it across the finish line. And there's a lot of refinement to the parts and to the aspects of it that we've been doing together over time. But yeah, the aha moment for him, specifically that one, was his buddy lost a $2,000 bow down to the bottom of the lake at about 3 in the morning and literally said, there's got to be a better way.
That's a great story. And I also like the fact that you brought up in describing his story, whereas L came up with the idea, the inspiration, and began to do the product development process. But he found that he can only get so far with it. And that's where you came into the picture. And when you put two heads together, you began to see how to work through the challenges. That's always part of product development to be able to solve the problem. And for sure, every one of our listeners can visualize people out, especially fishing at 3 in the morning and then losing a very expensive bow to the bottom of the lake and realizing that's that. So clearly that was the problem.
Yes, exactly. And anybody who's been out on boats or around the water, at some point, you're probably going to lose something in the water that you would just as soon not lose in the water. And one thing that the original inspiration for the Delta buoy was on bows for bow fishing, but we've identified a number of other extremely good markets for it, namely like drones, deep sea fishing. We've even talked with people in the Coast Guard where they lose things over water and they'd love a little device like this. So there's a number of great applications for it. And we're very excited about the potential with it.
As I understand it, bow fishing, I think, is analogous to hunting with the bow, where the hunter pulls back a bow and shoots a powerful arrow into the deer or other animal. But for our listeners who might not be familiar with bow fishing, can you briefly describe how it works? And also, how is bow fishing different from bow hunting on land? Could you share that with us?
Sure. Funny enough, before I met Elle, I had never even heard of bow fishing. I didn't know it was a thing. So the bow itself is pretty much identical to a deer hunting bow or any other type of bow like that. Where it gets a little more unique for bow fishing is that you have a bit of fishing line tied on the end of the bow, and then you maybe have 500 yards of line, and it's spooled up into a little kind of bulb that is mounted on the bow. So when you fire the arrow, it goes out, hopefully hit the fish. Of course, the fish may swim a little bit, and you've got to be able to retrieve it. So that's where the string comes into play. And what happens sometimes when people lose their bow or their whatever is that the whole thing gets yanked out of their hand and they have to then go try to retrieve it. But yeah, the bow itself is very similar to any other bow that you might see. It just has these cool accessory on it with a fishing line. So it's combining traditional fishing and bow hunting, and then you've got bow fishing.
Thanks for sharing that. And like you described, I truly had never heard of bow fishing either, even though that in my ancient history, we went deep sea fishing for black marlin in the Bay of Panama. So that was fun. So did a little bit of deep sea fishing and did some fishing with my dad over time and on my own, but had never done bow fishing. And I thought that some of our listeners may not be familiar with it. So it might be good to describe what it is. And you made it crystal clear exactly how it works. So what would you say is the key problem that the Delta buoy solves for bow fishermen? I think you've pointed to this, but also how much does a typical fishing bow cost? So you talked about you lose the bow and that's not good. So can you give us a sense of the cost of losing one, but also what's the key problem that it solves? And can you briefly describe your Delta buoy? In other words, what is it like and maybe how does it attach to the bow? There's about 3 questions there, but could you answer that?
Sure. So the bows are, and the folks who go bow fishing go to great lengths and expense to make them extremely light and extremely high quality. They'll take out a very tiny steel screw and replace it with titanium, or they'll remove aluminum and use titanium. Anything they can do to shave off a half an ounce here, half an ounce there. And so they go to great lengths and great expense to make this bow work extremely smoothly and be as light as possible. And the average bow, like high quality bow, will run somebody a couple $1,000s when all said and done in parts and accessories on it. So it's a very expensive item. And that item itself does not float. It has absolutely no buoyancy whatsoever, or extremely little. And so when an item like that falls in the water, it's going to just sink, and usually sink very quickly before you have a chance to try to reach down and scoop it up and grab it out. And so the Delta buoy is a little device about 4 inches long, and it's extremely light. It's about 2.5 to 3 ounces. So that way, all the time and expense and money or in effort that somebody has put into making their bow light, they don't just then go put like a 5 pound weight on it with our device. It's 3 ounces, and that's the entire device. And it uses this compressed CO2 cartridge and an air bladder, and then some little mechanics on the inside. And then as soon as the thing hits the water, it sets off and it inflates the air bladder and lifts it right back out of the water. And what's great about this device is it, like I said, it weighs about 3 ounces, but it can lift almost 20 pounds out of the water. So if you have a bow that weighs a couple pounds, 3 pounds, it's going to shoot right back up to the surface with the Delta buoy attached to it. And it can be attached with zip ties. We have some pretty cool elastic fasteners that come with it to attach it. And so any kind of device that you want to put it to, there's a number of different ways that you can attach it. Zip ties would probably be the best mental picture for how it could go on something. And the great thing about our device is it's reusable, or most of it is. So after it goes off, you simply remove the very top part, the actuator, remove that, put a new one on, put in a new CO2 cartridge, do a little quick repack of the air bladder, and 2 minutes later, you're back up and running. So unlike a lot of flotation devices out there, ours is reusable, and which means it's extremely cost effective for the user.
Thank you so much for explaining that, because something that was going on in my head is I envisioned an additive product that would float something that might have significant weight. Is how could this 4 inch long flotation device actually float something that had some significant weight? But when you explained the air bladder and CO2 cartridge that inflates, kind of like an airbag in a manner of speaking, that then actually can float up to 20 pounds, now I think you gave me, as well as our listeners, a clear picture as to how the product really is very versatile and can float all sorts of things at varying weights.
Yeah, and a good way to think of it is if you're in a swimming pool and you were to take like a beach ball, the beach ball isn't very big, but let's say you're a 200-pound guy. If you were to wrap your arms around that beach ball, you can sit there and float with a ball on top. It's the same idea of the buoyancy can, in a sphere like that, can lift an item much greater than its own weight or its own size.
I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the near future for your product. I understand that you're planning to bring the Delta Buoy to market this spring. Can you describe your key marketing strategy for this product? Do you plan to license it or manufacture it, package and sell it yourself? Or what is your strategy or go to market strategy?
So we're actually manufacturing it ourselves, and it is being manufactured right now. So over the course of the next couple months, all the different components and parts are being made, and they're either being made here in-house at our facility, or we are outsourcing certain parts to other machine shops and things like that. So we're going to take to market. Social media marketing is going to be a huge aspect of this. A lot of videos, a lot of daily posts, Instagram, but also the sports and outdoor market. A lot of the people that we've shown the prototypes to are extremely excited about this, and we want to get it in the stores, Bass Pro Shops, REI, that sort of thing. So we plan to have it in retail stores all throughout North America and the world pretty quickly. By this spring, we'll have it on the shelves, available online. deltabuoy.com will be a direct way to purchase it. Amazon, Walmart, anywhere you like to buy things, it'll be available. And the plan to market it is just show people that it works. Even our little prototypes do an amazing job of, I took a 20-pound sandbag, put this thing, zip tied it to it, dropped the sandbag over, and it lifted it right out of the water. And just showing people that this thing is pretty amazing and it works extremely well. I think it's going to sell itself in that regard.
Yeah, I do too. A challenge so many inventors have with a new product is sharing the vision in such a way that it's clear to the potential buyer on a new sort of different product, how in the heck it works, et cetera. But this one is so clearly demonstrable. I pictured you at a trade show, for example, with let's just say a glass tank, like you might have for fish or something like that. And you get this somewhat heavy weight and you drop it in there and then put the buoy on it and watch it just lift it right up. So I think it would be so easy for people to get it, even if you had a scale model to show it. So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think showing people that it works is going to be the key to it. They see it, they say, wow, that works and it works well. And I can picture it saving my own thing from falling over, or it doesn't prevent it from falling over, but it prevents it from sinking. It can help them with that.
Sure. One other quick question. What kind of retail price point is it going to sell for approximately?
We're looking at $89.95 for the full complete kit, and that will come with everything you need to mount it, initial get you going, and then there'll be rearm kits that you can buy for probably about $35, and that will come in a multi-pack of CO2 cartridges and the actuator. So that way you can, if you're out there 3 in the morning and you lose your bow or fishing rod or whatever it is you're working with, if you lose it down there, retrieve it, you can rearm the entire device and not lose a night of bow fishing or not be at risk of having something sink again that day. Yeah, it's extremely cost effective. It's basically very cheap insurance on your expensive device, a bow or a rod or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I can definitely see the return on investments being a really good one for something that's worth quite a lot of money. And that really it's predominantly a one-time cost of $90 and it's just $35 for the refill results. So that's a pretty amazing offer.
Yeah.
As we roll towards a close, are there any parting words that you'd like to leave us with?
I think something I've learned a lot with this device and in working with L on this is it's always amazing to me that the tinkering, the iterating, and if somebody has an idea that, and it seems insurmountable or seems like a really complex thing, it's a matter of just chipping away at it. Just start with one little problem, solve it, figure it out, move on to the next little problem. Keep iterating, don't give up on it. And I think any cool product out there, there's some very simple products and some much more complex. And it always just takes people just looking at it going, huh, what if? What if I do this? What if I do that? What if it looks like this? What if it's shaped like that? And just tinkering with it and have fun with it. And eventually you get to the end and you're like, wow, I created something. That's pretty cool. So then you just got to market it and sell it, and millions of other people will want it as well.
Such great advice. And really, what I was thinking about when you gave that example, I think inventors, like many creative people, have a tendency to look at the mountain of where they want to be and where they are, and they feel like they're so far away. And there was an expression Martin Luther King was saying, and he says, you don't have to see the entire staircase to take the first step. And I think your analogy is precisely that. Just start on the first step, go to the next step.
Yes, exactly. And it's just little by little, one day at a time. Sometimes things may take years to come to fruition. Other times it may just be weeks, but it's all possible. Darn near anything is doable.
Yeah. And Marie Forleo even has a book called Everything is Figure Outable, which is a particularly good book I like. My final question for you then, Matthew, is how can our listeners reach you if they have other questions or would like to purchase from you?
So the best way to get a hold of us will be through the website, deltabuoy.com. So DELTABUOY. So deltabuoy.com. And if you're a shop owner or just want to buy an individual item or just want to see it, it'll be on the market spring of 2026. And we are very excited. We'll be posting videos and marketing it here in the next couple months, but it will be hitting the market, available to buy probably March or April, right around there.
I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast with us today. Matthew, and sharing your journey with us and how you and Elle came up with this great product and developed it over time and clearly recognized a problem and found a solution for it. And I would like to reserve the opportunity to touch bases with you maybe in another 6 months or a year to see what you've got going on at that time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'd love to show when we've got the final product back in our hand. I'd be thrilled to show people and be able to talk about it even more depth at that point and show the inner workings.
That's fantastic. Thanks again.
Yeah. Thank you, Alan. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Inventors Helping Inventors. If you like the show, please tell your friends about it. Make sure to subscribe in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts so you won't miss a single episode. Talk to you soon.